First off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy of the grand predecessor, and spinning masters, and everyone here today for this opportunity to talk about creating a happy and fulfilling life. We all want a happy and fulfilling life, right? Or at least I'm assuming if that's true. Okay, the Chinese, actually, what is it? The word here, 幸福. Yeah, it kind of translates as, you can say it's happy. It also translates as just fortunate, or also you can say maybe blessed. Okay, so you can kind of use these, but happy in general, we talk about, whether we're happy or not, right? Yeah, the Declaration of Independence says that we all should have that right to be able to pursue happiness. What's the problem then? Why aren't we happy? Okay. Yeah, I assume, yeah, most people are not happy, or at least we're not happy all the time. Okay, we can be happy some of the time, but not all the time. And part of the reasons is because life, right, existence there are less than ideal conditions, okay, in this world and in our lives. Okay, so just like in the Four Noble Truths, right? Buddha says what life or existence is dukkha, which is translated as suffering or dissatisfaction, right? It's imperfection. Okay. So yeah, that's the nature of life, the nature of existence, okay. For living beings, right, or at least humans, um, there's what we call the eight sufferings, which I guess was talked about in during the Dharma class, right? The true meaning of life. Okay, it talks about the eight sufferings: birth, aging, sickness, and death. Okay, so nobody can escape from these four sufferings. Okay, right? I mean, birth. Hey, we weren't given the choice to be born, right? Sometimes we think, wow, I didn't want to be born, man. Why am I, in this world? Why am I here? You know, or of course, aging. Once we're born, well, every living being goes ages. Okay, so because everything is constantly changing, and even our bodies, and so obviously aging comes with that. Then sickness, yeah. During our lives, we will get sick at least once. And most likely many times throughout our lives. And so obviously the sickness is also, it's unpleasant. It might even bring us close to death. But overall, it's not a good experience. And then finally, of course, death. We all will face death at some point. There's no such thing as, immortality in this material realm. So, so eventually, yeah, we must leave this world. Okay. So those are the four basic sufferings, and then you have the four others, which you can say maybe they're more. Those are like the physical sufferings, and then the next four are kind of, you can say they're mental, okay, emotional, mental type of sufferings. Um, Basically, unfulfilled desires, not getting what we want. We desire to have something, we wish to have something, but then we cannot attain it, we cannot achieve it. So that is, it's unfulfilled. So yeah, you can feel different things. We can feel frustration, we can feel um, desperation. Basically, well, we're not going to be happy, right? If we can't achieve, or we'll feel disappointment, all these things, right? Separated from loved ones. Okay, so again, or separated from the things that we like. And yeah, that's because why we have an attachment to these people or the things when we no longer have those things. So it could be like a loss, right? We lose something. We can feel sad. We can feel we won't be happy. You can say then the next one, the third one is like almost like the opposite. It's like being in contact with those we dislike, or being in contact with the things we dislike. for certain people, maybe because of their attitude or whatever their behavior, uh, that we don't want to be near them, right? But yet, you know, maybe we're forced. We have no choice. Let's say at work, maybe it's a colleague, coworker who's just so annoying, or even worse, right? Uh, that we just don't want to be with them. Or we can be like in that environment, right? That it's like, oh my God, it's like it smells so bad, right? This place smells so bad. I don't want to be here. Uh, or it's so dirty. Don't want to be here. So, anyways, so that again, we can't be happy under those conditions. And then finally, the last one is the illusion or delusion of reality created by the five skandhas. Right. So this is ultimately everything is the result of this. Okay. All these other things. Basically, yeah. What are the five skandhas? Form, sensation, conception, volition, and consciousness. Basically, this is how we interact with the world and how we kind of perceive the world, how we understand the world. You can say how we define ourselves through the world, through again, the external forms, and then our sensation, how we kind of the lowest level, our senses, how they interact with these forms, and then going up a level to how we kind of understand or at least differentiate, distinguish what these things are. And then the volition level, it's how we react, you can say, how we react to them. And then finally, at the highest level, is consciousness. Basically, then we start thinking, and also we have attachments, okay, to these things. So this is actually, the five skandhas is really it's we should understand this because this is how we interact with the world, and uh, this is how we can try to understand ourselves. Okay, why we're not happy, why do we have attachments? Okay, uh, and this is kind of if we can understand this, then we can try to kind of overcome that. We all have these eight sufferings, and these eight sufferings kind of, you can say, prevent us from being happy at any given time. Yeah, this is the human condition, right? This is how it is. Now, then there's also, of course, karma, right? So besides the eight sufferings, yeah, you can say, karma can manifest as any of these as any of these eight sufferings as well. We are here because of our karma, for the most part. I mean, Buddhas, maybe they have a choice; they can be here if they want to be. But for the most part, we are here. We're born. We have this life because of our karma. It's obviously not an ideal condition. So now we all want a happy and fulfilling life, right? So not we want to kind of get from this state of not being happy or not satisfactory, not being satisfied, not being dissatisfied with things, to this other state of being happy or being satisfied. So how do we do that? How does that happen, right? So how do we achieve that? Um, how do we gain satisfaction and happiness? Actually, gaining is not really the right word. You see, the problem with why people are not happy or not satisfied is because they, we think in terms of gain and loss. Basically, we think we try to gain it, okay? But so anything that we can gain, we can also lose. So that's something that we need to understand, right? Keep in mind. What is happiness then? All right, there are, I guess, different levels of happiness. Okay, so one level is the physical well-being, external things like wealth and material possessions. Right, a lot of people they they think they think they can be happy or they will be happy if or happier if they have a lot of wealth and they can get a lot of material things, you know, like make a lot of money, have a lot of you know big houses, big cars, etc., all properties, right? And for a lot of people, that I guess that makes them happy. Okay. Comfort, yeah, and this is all, of course, all of these things are relative, right? Some people, they're, in terms of wealth and material possessions, maybe some people, they're happy with $1 million. Someone else might be happy, or they won't be happy unless they have $1 billion. Okay. So it's all relative, right? It's each individual. Everyone is different. Same thing with comfort. Okay. So what is a comfortable life or lifestyle? Right. Some people maybe, they need to play, like the billionaires, they have to live in a hundreds of $1 million mansion with all these uh, gadgets and amenities and everything. And then, fly around in their own private jet and all these things. Or other people can be, live a comfortable life, say, yeah, it's just pretty much normal. But as long as they have their house, their car, their whatever, they have a backyard, they have a garden, uh, anything like that. They live somewhat comfortably. Obviously, maybe they need to have a certain amount of income or wealth to be able to live comfortably. But again, everything is all relative. Health is very important to everyone. Is no matter how wealthy you are, right? If we're not healthy, then we're not going to be happy either, right? So, someone that could be a billionaire has cancer, uh, and it's like a serious cancer. Then that's obviously that billionaire is not going to be able to enjoy life as much. So again, these are, I guess, conditions to that we have that have to be there for most people to be happy, right? People, they want to be free to do whatever they want, right? I mean, okay, within certain, yeah, within the law, okay, so that's fine. Freedom to do things pretty much as you wish. Freedom of choice. Yeah, people don't want to be constrained or overly constrained and restricted. Okay, so you could say, yeah, freedom can be something that's needed for happiness. Or at least, maybe some people, feel that that's more important. Or enjoyment. Okay, so this having good or fun experiences in life. Yeah. So obviously, these are things when we go. Oh, people go have fun, go take a vacation, um, and or yeah, it could be it could come from work too. Having a good experience at work, for example, or uh, even learning. It could be any type of good experiences, and so we enjoy, right? That's where you're getting enjoyment in life. And then also, of course, it could be with family and friends, our relationships with people uh, that we have this enjoyment, right? It's nice to be in their company, it's like get along and yeah, and we can be happy, right, to get together. And then I guess finally, there's also, something satisfaction, right? Usually we're talking about achievement, that we achieve something, whether it's in our studies, our learning, or in our work, or other thing in other aspects of achievement, that we can be kind of maybe proud of ourselves, or at least be satisfied that I accomplished something, right? I accomplished a goal. I achieved a goal. Okay. So, anyways, these are all various factors or conditions that lead to happiness, right? All right. So, what are the qualities of happiness? Yeah, happiness is neither absolute nor quantifiable. What makes one person happy is not, it could be different from what makes other people happy. So that, makes it all relative. And plus, the you can say the amount of happiness, I guess, how happy one is, that's also all very relative. So happiness is actually, it's an intangible state of mind experienced personally, right? It's a state of mind. Okay. Now, it's basically whatever the conditions are, the external conditions, that are causing, right, creating this state of mind within us. Obviously, when we're in, we the conditions are like we talked about earlier, that the suffering, right, 8 sufferings, uh, then that's gonna create this state of mind in us. That's well, it's obviously it's not happiness. It's if you feel suffering, but maybe if we have we feel good about things. We have wealth and we have all these other things, good health. Then maybe that will cause us to feel happy. So you can say happiness. Yeah, it's kind of it's like an emotion, right? But it's our state of mind basically. We are basically experiencing happiness through the 5 skandhas, right? Which we talked about before. This is how we interact with the world. Then it's only an illusion, right? It's not true, lasting happiness. Because why? These conditions are constantly changing, right? There's no, today I gained wealth, right? Tomorrow some disaster can strike and I can lose it all. Today I'm very healthy. Tomorrow something happens, maybe it's due to karma, something bad happens to the health, then not happy. From the Buddha's or the enlightened point of view, then yeah, it's all an illusion. Now, so what do we, we want happiness, but yet at the same time, that happiness is dependent upon something that's the external conditions that are changeable and impermanent. So therefore, happiness, of course, is also it's going to change along with it. Our state of mind, going from happy to something else, different state of mind, um, that will change according to what's the changes around us. So that's not going to give us lasting happiness, right? But we need to count our blessings, right? See, satisfaction is really and happiness should be generated internally, right? So if it's generated internally and it doesn't depend on anything that's external, that's stuff that we talked about before, then it can be lasting because there's it's not going to change according to the conditions outside, right? So if we can count our blessings, basically learn to appreciate, learn to be grateful, learn to be content, right? These 3 things: appreciate things, no matter what, right? It's like, hey, it's a sunny day. I appreciate that it's a very nice day. I can take a walk. I can go outside. I can enjoy sunshine, enjoy the breeze. But at the same time, if it rains, if it's a cold day, I can still appreciate. Learn to be grateful. Again, yeah, we should be grateful for everything. We can be grateful no matter what. Grateful that we are living, that I'm alive. Okay, so that then allows me to. Then we're kind of like prioritizing what's more important, basically. I mean, if we kind of like those 8 sufferings. Some of it has to do with our attachments, our likes and dislikes. Okay, ultimately, those are less important than hey, the fact that I'm alive, I'm living, right? And since I am living, I'm alive, I can cultivate, I can achieve something greater. All right. So we should be grateful. And I learned to be content. Yeah, content, being content means I can be satisfied with just the way things are, right? I don't have to try to gain something or get something or trying to make something happen to become happy. If we can learn to do these things, then that is what we can achieve internal satisfaction and generate basically it's happiness, okay, or joy, inner joy. And then that is what we really want, okay. Okay, so this mindset for happiness, it depends on what we call those 4 immeasurable minds. I think it's also called the 4 immeasurables. Infinite loving kindness, that is to give love and happiness to others. Boundless compassion, to save others from suffering or to suffer for others. Limitless happy joy, to rejoice in the welfare of others. So when others when they're happy or when something good happens to them, we should rejoice, right? We should be happy for them instead of being envious or jealous. Okay, um, infinite equanimity and relinquishment to yield and give up all for others. Right. So if you notice all four of these, there's kind of like the common theme. It's basically it's all about others, right? It's not about the self. Okay? It's not about oneself. So we focus our attention, focus our love, our consideration, everything for others. So if we can do that, then we're basically letting go of our ego, getting rid of our ego, letting go of ourself. Actually, that's another way of basically saying, you know, I am you. Okay, you are me. Okay, so but treating everyone as myself. These are four, the basically the mindset, I guess, the four immeasurable minds of a Buddha or Bodhisattva, or enlightened being. Okay, so that they would this is what how they would feel towards others because they have no self, they have no ego. They just treat all sentient beings, all living beings as themselves. Okay, when we can do that, then yeah, we can also be happy or have that inner joy or satisfaction. For example, if we help someone, if we do something for others, it can be for one person, it could be for many. After we do it, we have this sense of satisfaction. We feel good about having done that. Then we are close to having these qualities, this immeasurable minds, right? But if we do things for others, and we feel like, sheesh, why did I have to do that? Why it's like we feel like maybe we're forced to do that, that we didn't really want to do that for others, do something good for others. Uh, then, we're kind of far from having these four measurable minds. Creating a happy and fulfilling life is one's right. Question is, right, do we want it? Only if we want it can we achieve it, but we have to do what is necessary. Now, actually, yeah, okay, obviously, uh, we want to be happy, right? So, the pursuit of happiness, everyone uh, has that right, of course. The question is, we need to make it happen, right? How do we make it happen? Obviously, uh, nobody can force us to be happy, and nobody can stop us from being happy. Maybe people disagree with that because they say, well, yeah, that person made me angry. This person made me whatever. Remember what we said that that's dependent on the external conditions, right? So we have to realize that true happiness is not dependent on anything, right? It's just internal, right? So we should just be in that state of mind, or anytime we want to be, we can just be in that state of mind, and regardless of whatever the conditions are. That's why we say, really nobody can force us to be happy, and nobody can stop us from being happy. If we're happy, don't let the conditions change that. Basically, the Tao is one, the truth is one, right? Everything else is duality. So when we have duality, it is not the true or eternal. So it is with happiness, right? The same thing. It depends if it depends on duality, right? Whether it's like the three minds, right? The past, present, or future, and the four images, this image of self, humans, sentient beings, self, the other person, or sentient beings, or personality, or life, then, it cannot be true or eternal. Because again, it's basically subject to the five skandhas, okay? And therefore, true happiness, self-generated and self-sufficient. So that is what, we talk about. It's really contentment, satisfaction, contentment, I guess. Um, uh, because true happiness, okay, if we talk about it as an emotion, then yeah, then it's not eternal. It's not true either because emotion is constantly changing. But we're kind of talking about the state of mind of, we'll call it happiness, but we'll call it true happiness, being that it's a state of inner joy, I guess, is the best way to say it. We shouldn't think that, oh, I want to be happy, because that means it is a result, right? That we want to achieve the result of being happy. right? If we cannot achieve the result, then we cannot be happy, right? So, so if one seeks for things outside of ourselves but cannot get them, then one will have afflictions. Okay, so that's the same thing. That was one of the 8 sufferings. Okay, so we have to realize that everything is false. Only happiness, the happiness is true. Okay, even when we have education, fame, wealth, um, we achieve those for the sake of happiness, right? So it's basically in the journey, right? Not it's not the happiness is not the destination. Should not be the destination. So earlier we asked, how can we go from not being satisfied and not happy to satisfied and happy? It doesn't take a lifetime to achieve satisfaction and happiness. It is in the here and now, in the moment, right? So in this moment, and I'm not talking about this moment in time, right? It's the timeless moment, the moment where there's no attachment to the 3 minds, past, present, future, and no attachment to the 4 images. Okay, so that's really being in the moment. And when we're in the moment, hey, we are, if you want to say we're happy, I mean that's where we have that inner joy, inner contentment. Okay, so happiness, it's not a goal, but it's achieved in action or through action by what we're doing. So it's not obviously, it doesn't mean we have to be doing something to be in that state of mind, but uh, it is not something that we achieve as a result of something. It's in the moment, basically. Okay, so how do we create happiness? If one wants happiness, then one must learn to be grateful. Right? A person of gratitude is blessed. We should be grateful and appreciate our existence, our being, our existence. Okay. If we are content, then we are happy. Basically, if we feel bothered by something or dissatisfied, then we'll not be happy and we'll complain. Okay. So Sujun, our 18th patriarch, holy teacher, says, gratitude is heaven, right? So we can feel grateful and we're in heaven because then, that grateful, that, I don't know if you call it a feeling, but that state of mind, uh, then yeah, so you can say we're happy and then we're nothing, then everything is good, right? So that's like being in heaven. Whereas if we're always complaining about stuff, then that is like being in hell, because then obviously we're dissatisfied and nothing is good. In terms of comfort and ease, you know, that can be a dangerous thing. That's like we're living on the edge of the cliff. We're at the edge of the cliff. So basically, you can say maybe it's complacency. It's dangerous because we're not diligent or vigilant, not being careful, right? So vigilance is the Tao road, right? Laziness is the grave. So we have to be diligent, vigilant. This cultivation, right? So cultivation, ultimately, we can say, oh, it's very easy to say, yeah, we should have that state of mind of being content, satisfied, happy, that inner joy. But no, we are human nature. We're humans, right? We're not perfect, and so we need to cultivate ourselves to get to that level, right? And we cannot be lazy, right? If we're lazy, we don't do anything. Where we don't put in the effort to cultivate, then we're not going to achieve, and we'll always be stuck in this thing that we're not going to be happy. Okay, we're not going to achieve that true internal happiness. So we have to grasp the thought that one is the embodiment of happiness. Right? Unfortunately, thoughts are difficult to grasp in this capricious mind. This requires the highest practice of the mind nature, the Buddha nature, that we are the embodiment of happiness. Basically, that's it. That when we are in that state of mind, that's we are content, we are satisfied, we're happy, then we are it. We are happy. We are it. Okay, it's not something that we have to gain or that we can lose. Okay, so don't think that one has only a limited place, restricting oneself and creating afflictions for oneself. This tends to be a problem that we have, that we paint ourselves into a corner. Okay, because of our views, right? Our attachments, our stubbornness. It's like I hold my view of whatever, and then if it's unfortunately if it's not a correct view, then we're only going to suffer. We're not going to be happy. Okay. And that's where our afflictions come from. And so that's why we need to let go. And if we can, again, so getting rid of our attachments, getting rid of, being in the moment, right? So, then we can, free ourselves from the suffering basically that causes. Okay. So explain things as having good intent or in a positive way. So the world we live in is relative. Where we have beauty, we also have ugliness. Where we have right, we also have wrong. How we interpret things. Okay, so maybe we see something, someone does something, someone says something. It's not absolute. Okay, so we judge, right? We judge their action or their words, and we can say, well, did they say something? They said something that offended me. That or they did something that offended me. Or we can just say it is what it is. I mean, or maybe they had a good intention, whatever. Uh, and, so it's up to us to decide how we react to it, basically. The Buddhas always tell us, hey, we should always look at it in a positive way, look at things in a positive way. Okay. So we can do that, then basically it won't bother us. Okay. So we won't be offended, right? We won't get angry. And so it's kind of like, yeah, so that is the best way to do it. Look at it in a positive way or interpret things in a positive way. Always trigger thoughts to make people happy. Okay, so we're like a well. If we draw water, the well is always going to be full of fresh water. If we stop drawing water, the water becomes stagnant and stale. We should also say things and do things that that won't make people angry or upset, and try to make things, make them happy. Okay, even though we know, that's an external thing, but people, we have to start with that. Our perspective in life is very important. When you have three people, they're on a job, right? One says, "Oh, he feels like he's just there. He's just there to do a job." The second one's, he says, "Oh, okay, he's making some money, right?" And the third one says, "No, he's actually he's like creating this or building something." They all have the same job and they're all doing the same thing, but they have different views of their job, right? The first person, he's just doing a job. Second person, he's earning money. He's making money, right? The third one has kind of a greater aspiration, right, or pride in what he's doing. Um, Basically, they all can be happy, although the first person doesn't sound so happy. He's like he's just doing a job, right? The third person definitely seems happy about what he's doing and he's trying to achieve. So this person actually has a positive attitude. He feels good about what he's doing and can realize his potential. So our mindset is very important at determining how we feel and what we can achieve. It can also help us overcome our low self-esteem and fear, to discover our potential and make us work more effectively. So we should always try to think positive and be optimistic. Now we cannot determine our lifespan, but we can determine life's depth and breadth and basically its richness, to benefit ourselves and others and become what we want to be, both mundane and spiritual. We can use the Tao, heart and mind, to deal with everything, right? Love oneself and others, be content and grateful, not fear getting old, but fear not having virtue, merit in speech, when we get old. So it's important to, don't worry about, yeah, we shouldn't fear getting old or eventually dying. We should just fear that we don't have virtue, right? That we're not cultivating well enough. Okay. That's because ultimately that is what's going to matter the most. What's most important. Use one's limited life to create the eternal life, right? Maintain personal integrity and share heaven's grace with the world. Yeah, when we talk about the our limited life, of course, this physical life, but our eternal life goes beyond that, right? Especially if we can, attain enlightenment, become like Buddha, then that's the eternal life. That's the one that's more. Um, that's really what we should strive to achieve. We should also abstain from slanderous words to be free from disaster. So, yeah, if we say bad things about other people, then that's likely to create some kind of karmic karmic result. We have disasters might befall us. angry words. Don't say any angry words, so in order to clear up, enmity, people who, feel hatred and they're like our enemies. We should not say angry words or we create the enemies. Evil words, right? We abstain from evil words to have an upright and righteous mind. Okay. We should abstain from crazy talk to avoid all kinds of misfortunes. So again, our words are very important. How Because they will affect other people, and by affecting them, we also bring disaster and misfortune upon ourselves. Okay? Auspicious people speak good words, see the good, and do good, and are blessed. Right? Like we let go of past wrongs or baggage, or it will become the root of future karma. Yeah, so we need to learn to let go, even if we were wronged before. We have to learn to let that go. Otherwise, that baggage, it gets very heavy if we carry it throughout our lives, and that will lead to, we have this resentment, we can't let it go, and that will lead to future karma. Remember, even though we may not have acted on it, uh, if it's constantly in our mind, that plants the seed of karma as well. To create happiness, right, you need to let it go. One of the happiest moments in life is when you can find the courage to let go of what you can't change. And basically, we can't change a lot of things. we, we basically cannot change other people. We should not try to change, force change on other people. We can try to influence, we can kind of guide them. There are a lot of things we cannot change. The only thing we can change is ourselves. Yeah, that's the only thing we can change. And so that's what we should focus our efforts on, changing ourselves. So let go of all those things about trying to change other people. Now, okay, so we want to eliminate factors of unhappiness, wrong understanding and inverted views. Yeah, this is one of the things. So it's basically the, Buddha's noble eightfold paths, right? The first path is having the correct views, right views. Okay, so not believing cause and effect, karma, and doing whatever one wants. Okay, so obviously this is that we have to understand that it's a universal law, cause and effect, causality, karma, and so we cannot just decide that, oh, I don't believe it and I'll do whatever I want. We're still affected by the karma. As long as we understand that, we know it, then that will be kind of like well, hopefully, it'll become like a precept, something that will prevent us from doing things that we shouldn't do. Not understanding impermanence and unpredictability. Yeah, so basically, we're kind of ignorant, right, about these things. But, humans, basically, they blindly pursue happiness because of their ignorance, right? As a result, they cannot attain happiness, but rather lead to endless suffering. Right? To gain happiness requires a reasonable approach that's not impulsive. So we also have to understand that everything is, the things that we see, the wealth, power, whatever, all these things are also impermanent, and that life is unpredictable. So these are things that we can't really change. We should correct our views, and then once we correct our views, have the proper views, then we will have kind of a different outlook on life. Okay, and we won't become attached to those things that lead to suffering. Strong ego attachment, right? Egoistic, that self-centered view of everything. It's considering one's possessions as being the self. Yeah. So again, this is something that we have to get rid of. It's one of the first of the four images, this ego or the self. And a lot of people they consider, that I guess their self-image depends on their belongings, what they own, what they wear, what the car that they drive, the house they live in, all these things. Okay, so again, that's kind of an inverted view, and we have to get rid of these three poisons: greed, anger, delusion, and get rid of not do the unwholesome deeds. Okay, so basically, so this is what cultivation is all about, right? So cultivation is you have to get rid of these, um, because otherwise, these will cause us to be unhappy, um, and if we want to be happy, then we must make diligent effort to eliminate them. Plant a field of blessings by doing good deeds. Okay, so by being evil and doing unwholesome deeds, though calamities have yet to come, blessings are already far away. Yeah, so again, you can say this is karma, right? Cause and effect. So obviously, if we need to do the good deeds, right? When we do the good deeds, then the calamities will stay away. So it's like so being kind-hearted, doing good deeds, though blessings have yet to come, misfortunes are already far away. So if we're doing evil and doing unwholesome deeds, then our blessings, we won't be blessed. Okay, even though maybe we haven't uh, disaster, nothing bad has happened to us yet, but the blessings are far away from us. Whereas on the other hand, if we do good deeds, we're kind-hearted, all that, then even if we haven't gotten any blessings yet, the misfortunes are already away. So in a sense, that's a blessing. So again, but this is all you can say this is causality here. Um, Contentment, okay, contentment is a cheap way to get happiness. Yeah, I mean, it's like if we can, I don't know, it's hard to, I mean, everyone has to just learn to know how to be content. It's hard for someone to tell you how to be content. You just have to know. A contented person can be satisfied and happy with simple living conditions. Yeah. So, once we're content, then it really doesn't depend on anything external. It's internal. And we need determination and the will and effort. We want to plant the seeds of blessing. If we have spare time, or better yet, make the time, right, to perform charity. Okay. Uh, we perform more good deeds, to benefit others. The 10 wholesome deeds, right? No killing, stealing, lust, no lies, slander, harsh, divisive speech, no jealousy, ill will, false views, right? In doing so, we create a source of endless happiness. Little by little, we accumulate good, wholesome deeds, although we may not see any change in the short term, but longer term, we will see a difference. Just like the grass that grows imperceptibly every day, but over a month, we see that the grass has grown significantly. People who are insatiable or greedy are never satisfied, no matter how much they have, and therefore they cannot be happy, whereas a contented person can be satisfied and happy in simple living conditions. I mean, there are people who have like disabilities, and yet they can live a fulfilling and happy life, right? So it's not, so even though they might have certain physical limitations compared to, most other people, they can be happy. So it's not the physical aspect. It's all mental. It's all internal. Okay. We have to kind of understand and get to that level. We should be active for better health and longevity, right? So again, our health is obviously important. If we are constantly suffering from pain, discomfort in the body, then obviously it's hard to be kind of happy. Okay, because that's just like this constant stress, mental stress. So we need to get enough quality sleep, stay active, and balance physical and mental activity. Exercise it benefits body and mind and is good for overall health, relaxation, and reduce mental stress. Yeah, so that is important. I mean, we tend to, well, I don't know. A lot of people tend to just to sit there all day and in front of their computer or whatever, uh, and not move around much and not really get exercise. So we can at least maybe we don't do like strenuous exercise, but we go for walks, things. We should engage in healthy hobbies, no smoking or drinking. We can ride less, ride the car, whatever less, but we walk more, right? Desire less and give more. You know, consume, less salt, more vinegar. Yeah, less salty stuff, more vinegar. Right? Eat less and chew more. Speak less and do more. Right? You have fewer clothes, but more less vexation, more sleep, less sugar, more fruits, less meat, more veggies. Okay, so I mean, this is just things that we can try to do, or change our mindset about how we do things and change our lifestyle. So how do we avoid afflictions, right? Live simply and keep the mind simple. A simple life and simple thoughts allows one to be relaxed and carefree. Nothing to gain or to be subject to, right? If one does not care, then no matter how big the misfortune, it's no big deal. Right. So, you know, again, we don't take it too seriously. Don't take a lot of things. A lot of things are just minor. It's just like really compared to life and death. Everything else is kind of not as significant. Put it that way. Okay, and it's not a big deal. Be freed from one's emotions, get a correct view of the reality, observe that all phenomena are empty with nothing to gain. Then one is unperturbed and can calmly face any misfortunes. Yeah. So again, there's also when there are calamities, uh, they will come to an end as well. Okay, so we have to again think positive, uh, see the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, so when harm or trouble comes, respond with kindness. When anger comes, respond with geniality, or basically warmth, cordiality, friendliness. When stubbornness comes, respond with gentleness. When people uh, use clever words, accept it sincerely. When people use harsh words, respond indirectly. When people use mocking words, respond silently. So this is kind of like to try to avoid that dualistic approach of response. Okay, so it's kind of like this is the way of Tao. I mean, this is the way of Tao. Like the Tao is the like water, right? We have to flow. We have to be like water. Uh, okay, so a saint is for the good of others and forgets the self. A sage puts the good of others before the self. A fair, upright person considers both others and the self. An ordinary person prioritizes self before others. A sinner is only for the self and disregards others. A fool does not distinguish the self and others. An unrefined person fakes being good to others while saving the self. So obviously, you know, if with the first one, if we can be good for others and forget the self, that's like a saint, or it's like a bodhisattva. uh, or the second level, say, putting the good of others before the self. Okay, and then the third level, being fair, upright. So we take consideration of the others as well as ourselves. Okay, so then so we want to kind of be at the level of the top three here. Some from the ordinary person on down, yeah, that's like, you know, everyone's like that. There's nothing uh, uh, good. So those are, those will lead to, basically what most humans experience, the suffering, etc. Right? And if we can, so this is again, becoming like kind of getting rid of the self to achieve those four immeasurable minds. Okay, we have to rein in or bring back the heart and mind. Okay, many afflictions are the result of letting the mind loose to wander outside. Okay, to lose oneself outside in the outside world. Yeah, we see this stuff, bling bling bling. We're attracted to it, etc. Those things we need to bring our mind back. Okay, so Mensch said, we need to look for our animals when they're lost, right? But do not look for our heart and mind when it is lost. The way of Tao does not involve anything other than to find or restore our true heart and mind, our conscience. Okay, so yeah, so it's like, when our possessions seem to be more important to us than our heart and mind. Okay, but actually, possessions are, hey, they can come and go, but um, it's our heart and mind that's most important. You have to have proper view, understanding, right? The first of the Eightfold Noble Paths. So many afflictions are the result of having improper or wrong thoughts, mindset. The Platform Sutra, it says, when the deviant mind comes, right, affliction arises. When the right mind comes, affliction is eliminated. It casts aside both right and wrong, the duality, pure state of no residue is attained, right? We have to basically avoid duality, avoid that, because we fall into duality, then we're going to have problems, right? Like and dislike. Then, there's going to be, there's not going to be happiness, okay? And it's not going to be true happiness. Most of our afflictions, are the result of our bad habits, bad temper, and improper mindset, right? Our attachments, our biases. So if we find ourselves unhappy, then the best thing to do is to look within and change ourselves. We live in a shell that we create for ourselves, right? Kind of wall, a barrier around us. You might call it our comfort zone, but who doesn't want to be comfortable, right? So we stay within the confines and limits of our comfort zone. The only problem is that if our happiness depends in any way on the environment, then if the environment does not match our comfort zone, then we will be uncomfortable and unhappy, right? We have to face up to the cause and effect, karma, right? If we hear something we don't want to hear, we should think that in the past we have said something that we shouldn't have. So the past cause has produced the current result, and now all is even. Okay. So uh, that's something that we have to understand. So once we understand karma, cause and effect, then if we can take that, adopt the attitude of saying, well, okay, so maybe it's something I did in the past, and that's why I'm getting this karmic retribution right now. Then it's easier to kind of get past it. To criticize others is a fault of the mouth, but being criticized reduces our sins. So yeah, we should not try not to criticize other people, but when they do criticize us, it's helping us reduce our sins. So we should thank them, right? Improve or elevate oneself, do not lower oneself to the level of others. Yeah. So when uh, they're throwing mud at you, don't throw mud back at them. It's like we have to be above that. Okay. So otherwise, you fall into that trap again of the karma, okay, creating karma. Thoroughly understand what is true and false, right? What in this world is true, what is false, right? Only the three imperishables is true: virtue, merits, and speech. Well, basically, yeah, all these forms are false. Okay, don't get too self-involved, or afflictions will just increase. Okay, so the Four Noble Truths, we have to understand that suffering or affliction, it's due to our desires and attachments, and that the cessation of suffering is due to Tao cultivation. Right, that's how we can end the suffering. Don't expect others to be the same as oneself in everything. Everyone is different with a different appearance. Nature's beauty comes from its myriad varieties. So again, don't try to change people to be like you, right? Because hey, everyone is different, and there is kind of a certain beauty to that, right? That everyone is different. Right? We don't want everyone to be exactly the same. Then there's like no, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Or you might say maybe it's boring, but um, so don't attach too much importance to one's possessions, right? Everyone values the things that they have as a way to affirm themselves, but too much leads to afflictions. True self-esteem does not depend on the external. Yeah. So again, how one looks, our appearance, the things that we have, these are not the things that should determine, how we see ourselves. Okay. It's basically the internal, our virtue is really the more important thing. Man is tempered and refined in the crucible between heaven and earth. Yeah. So, as the saying, jade is not useful if it is not crafted, gold is not valuable if it is not smelted. So basically, yeah, so basically we have to be refined. Okay. So we have to refine ourselves, refine our character, our heart, mind. Right. What is the purpose here? Right. To pay back karmic debts and to collect karmic rewards. Okay. Yeah. I mean, because we're basically here because of karma, right? But we also need to learn the lessons in life and to improve and elevate oneself, right? And there's always, we should learn the lessons in life, right? Just like we say, we learn from history so that we don't repeat the mistakes of history. Okay, so we want to learn the lessons in life, learn, right, lessons of karma, for example, so that we don't repeat it and get caught up in that vicious cycle. And we also, of course, want to fulfill our vows, and that helps us in that respect. Okay, so conclusion, we want to eliminate the factors of unhappiness, right? We plant the field of blessings, perform wholesome deeds, right? Reduce one's wants and desires, okay, because those are the things that will, if we cannot achieve them or get them, then we're still gonna be unhappy. Right, live simply and keep the mind simple. Yeah, just don't overthink things. Okay. Understand that sentient beings are to be refined in the crucible between heaven and earth. Okay, so realize that, yeah, we're here, cultivation. I mean, part of our, you can say it's our training. Our cultivation is, we have to endure these things. Obviously, karma, okay, but then there might be other things like tests, right? So Holy Teacher's words here says, there is much happiness in the world, but unlimited happiness only comes from sacrificing self for others. To save others is a living Buddha. To save the self is a common person, ordinary person, right? So again, the idea of you get rid of the self um, to manifest those four immeasurable minds. Okay, let go of attachments and stubbornness. Do not avoid one's duties and responsibilities. Be content and achieve the highest good. Blessings are for those who are always grateful, and happiness is for those who are content. All right, so true happiness is eternally generated and sustained, and it is in the moment, right? That's the eternal moment, not this moment in time, but it's the moment with no attachment, no biases, no duality. So create a happy and fulfilling life, right? We need to learn to appreciate, learn to be grateful, learn to be content, look for the good, or be optimistic, right? We need to have less ego and fewer desires and more consideration for others. Use the four immeasurable minds. Okay, so always end your day with a positive thought and a grateful heart. So that is basically, kind of like, Holy Teacher talks about how we can try to have a happy life, right? Be happy. Yeah, ultimately, there's no magic elixir. It is really, it has to come from the proper mindset uh, to be able to do that. And, always try to be grateful and think positively, right? So if I have said anything wrong, I asked Buddhists for forgiveness and also asked Transmission Masters and lectures for their corrections. Thank you.